Alright guys, in today's video we are looking at some really great upcoming games you might not know about but definitely should, because literally all of these do not have the big publicity cash that blockbuster projects do, but it doesn't mean they won't thrive in the industry. They all have the real potential. Let's have a look at these promising games. First off, we have Mortal Shell. Now if you've seen one of my recent videos, you know how excited I am about this project. Mortal Shell came out of nowhere and blew everyone away with its reveal trailer and showed what a small indie team can do when they have a passion for their craft. This game is a ruthless and extremely deep action RPG that tests your sanity and resilience in a shattered world. As the remains of humanity wither and rot, zealous foes fester in the ruins. It's telling a nightmarish story filled with monsters about mortality and resurrection. And it features tense gameplay where a single hit can make the difference between life and death. The Mortal Shells, as they call them, are the remnants of lost and defeated warriors, which players assume to absorb their powers. At the beginning you will be an innocent creature, but once you take control of the shells, everything changes. Each shell has its own set of skills and weapon upgrades and allows different playstyles. On the combat front, the game focuses on strategy and requires much of the player's skill. The non-linear campaign pits players against marsh-infected lowlands, a cathedral of obsidian rock, and an ancient crypt frozen into the crest of a mountain. Your path is guarded by desperate adversaries devoted to inscrutable gods. Behold creatures both pitiable and grotesque. I cannot wait to see more of this. Next up we have Everwild. Following the success of Rare's emergent multiplayer sandbox Sea of Thieves, the studio has decided to craft something that looks somewhat similar but in a totally different setting. Everwild was revealed in late 2019 and will be an ambitious fantasy sandbox filled with beautiful creatures and plenty of opportunities for meaningful player experiences like its seafaring predecessor. It is rumored to be an emergent MMO framed in a fantasy universe full of intriguing creatures, from bunnies to deer and majestic birds. It will also have some very hostile monsters which will have to be tamed or fought till the end, all of it with online players or friends if you'd like. At the end of the trailer, one human character connects with an animal, resulting in some kind of magical awakening. Perhaps it's a game following an early civilization as they figure out the meaning behind the animals who inhabit the land they find themselves in. It looks beautiful and I'd like to see much more. Next up we have Beyond the Wire by the creators of the tactical FPS games Squad and Postscriptum. Beyond the Wire is a large-scale multiplayer first-person shooter, immersing players in the frantic and bloody Western Front of the Great War. In battles with up to 100 real-world combatants, players will have to contend with large open maps and tight claustrophobic trenches. Utilizing both period-appropriate guns and a more tactical close-quarters melee combat system, the action in Beyond the Wire is more comprehensive than anything seen in a World War I game to date, as said. 100 players at a time face off in 50 versus 50 tactical combat, with an emphasis on methodical bolt-action rifle combat and the brutal scale of action soldiers faced on the front lines of the Great War. Weapon type and player stamina both have an impact on feel and effectiveness of melee attacks. Bayonet charges add one last brutal option to the arsenal of choices players have at their disposal. Overall, I think we know it's gonna be pretty good considering it's from the creators of the already liked tactical games. Next up we have Towers, an absolutely stunning open world survival multiplayer game set on an island that suffered a cataclysm. It once hosted a great civilization, but something changed. Maybe it was magic, maybe it was climate change, and the island stopped being a welcoming home. There was an exodus and it was abandoned. Generations later, the descendants of this civilization, the players, have returned to the island with the intent on rebuilding civilization. But first, the island itself has to be rebuilt. In the game, players will explore and experiment and figure things out for themselves, but other players are also collaborators, each helping to nurture flora and fauna, bringing the island back to life. There's gonna be a lot of PvE with hostile creatures and eventually even demonic invasions that can destroy the whole server. Once the player builds the ecosystem up, they have the resources to rebuild their civilization. The game is pretty much about balancing the two, but also being careful of the nature's needs. Some animal needs this kind of food, while others this kind of environment. Getting rid of a bunch of trees or overfishing, for example, can then have an effect on the rest of nature. A lot of species can go extinct because of your doings. It's a pretty unique concept and I will update you guys when we hear more. Next up we have Among Trees. Among Trees is a vibrant survival sandbox adventure with a colorful wilderness world teeming with life. You will have your own little wood cabin located in the heart of a lush forest. The cabin will be expandable to all your likings. Build new rooms and unlock additional game mechanics, decorations and such, including food cooking, plant growing and tool crafting. A great strong cabin will be needed to survive versus the outside world. You'll be exploring a breathing world that is filled to the brim with life, from dense forests to dark caves, and you'll also need to scavenge for food, catch some fish, and chop down trees. Finally, stay stealthy so that you can avoid the wild deadly beasts that roam the forest. Stay warm during ice-cold blizzards, and who knows what other dangers the night brings. It is coming this summer to PC and later to consoles. Next up we have Sons of the Forest, sequel to the Forest survival open world on PC. While the first game focused on an ordinary father and son, Sons of the Forest shows some professionals being put into the fray. We see some type of military unit whose helicopter is brought down by the creatures. We also see mutants similar to those in the first game, but also a few new threats. One appears to be a female creature with extra arms and legs that looks and dances like a succubus. While we don't know who our protagonists are, we do watch as two of them make their way cautiously through the forest before stopping dead in a cave teeming with the classic scary mutants. It's also gonna have both single player and multiplayer with a brand new story. I'm really hyped for this sequel as I think the developers definitely proved themselves with the first one. Next up we have Little Devil Inside. Little Devil Inside is a truly engaging 3D action adventure RPG game, where you are thrown into a surreal but somewhat familiar setting with men, creatures and monsters to interact with, learn and hunt. Survive and discover the world that exists beyond. Although there will be a main plot and story, the developers don't necessarily intend this to be the end in itself. They wish to put more efforts and focus on all the means to an end, where sometimes spawning off and attending to events and mini-missions may mean momentarily losing track of your main mission. Basically, they want to provide as many ways as possible for you to not always focus on the main story. Little Devil Inside won't have side missions, but rather small stories. Journey through the wilderness, explore cities, forests, mountains and deserts, meet with new characters, hire assistants, camp and rest, take cover from Mother Nature and even meet with other online players if you'd like to. There won't be no PvP though. You can buy or earn vehicles for party travel and a faster and safer journey, or weapons and armor through a merchant in the world. There's also gonna be a village where you can come back from your adventures and have a break. Next up we have Bomb Simulator. This game is an open world survival game set to release sometime in 2020. Apart from your day-to-day survival, you can enjoy many unique activities like tame the infamous city pigeons, meet all kinds of new people which will give you different missions, create yourself a little home that you can grow bigger over time as you get more money and go up in the ranks. You will also be able to fight other bombs to get control of certain areas, also learn the secrets of alcohol alchemy and much more. Dirty alleys, city streets, pawn shops, Central Park, subway and rat-infested sewers. You can go whenever you want and whenever you'd like. There are many secrets to uncover and achievements to unlock. Each location houses interesting characters with personal storylines and quests. I hope we get more updates on this game very soon. Next up we have 12 Minutes. 12 Minutes is a real-time top-down interactive thriller with an accessible click and drag interface. What should be a romantic evening with your wife turns into a nightmare when a police detective breaks into your home, accuses your wife of murder and beats you to death, only for you to find yourself immediately returned to the exact moment you opened the front door, stuck in a 12-minute time loop, doomed to relive the same terror again and again, unless you can find a way to use the knowledge of what's coming to change the outcome and break the loop. Every little decisions you make will change the outcome of what's coming next. Tell her someone's coming for her and she'll be prepared, or hide in the bathroom or search for a weapon. You can do anything until you get out of the loop. Finally, we have The Last Night, the soul of a cinematic platformer with the heart of a sci-fi thriller. The Last Night is set in a post-cyberpunk world with a deep, vibrant vision of the future. Humans first knew the era of survival, then they knew the era of work, now they live in the era of leisure. Machines have surpassed humans' labor not only in strength, but in precision, intellect, and creativity. The fight for survival doesn't mean food and water, but a purpose for living. People now define themselves by what they consume, not what they create. You'll be able to roam freely across 4 varied and vibrant districts in a unique blend of 2D and 3D. Travel between areas with futuristic transportation and wind your way through dense crowds, drones, and unique characters you'll be meeting, as long as you have the right to be there. The Last Night immerses you in the everyday life of Charlie, a second-class citizen living in a city brimming with augmentation and citizens living a gamified existence. Apathetic and disheartened by the seemingly pointless world around him, Charlie is presented with an opportunity to take matters into his own hands, but at what risk? You'll be able to draw your gun to intimidate or simply walk away while in the middle of dialogue. NPCs will stroll and chat alongside you rather than just standing around. They'll even remember what you've said night after night. It looks extremely ambitious and has been in development for at least 4 years now. I'm waiting for more soon. Alright guys, if you enjoyed this compilation video of upcoming games, make sure you drop a like and subscribe, or dislike if not. Thanks to Jigglyboy for being a master member on the channel. You can become a survivor member for 99 cents only. It'll support me and the channel as a whole. Thanks for watching.